greatest final of all time was won by the greatest of all time. Argentina, el campeones del mundo. Es el podcast de fútbol tenido de rosa. Vamos!
For anybody who actually speaks Argentinian, we apologize for Simon's Googling. Probably not what he meant to say.
That'd be Spanish, dumbass. Well, I hope I get my geography right and it's not Portuguese. But that'd be Brazil. That'd be Brazil. Yeah, so as I said, Argentina, el campeones del mundo. It was, what a game of football.
Goodness me. Just, it didn't look like it was going to be a game because France weren't turning up for such a long time.
It looked like it was going to be the easiest World Cup victory probably ever.
By an underdog.
But actually, possibly by anybody.
Because they were the underdogs. They obviously have Messi, but they were the underdogs in
of course
of the two teams. I was out at the pub watching it myself, the brother and a couple of lads from football and that. And Kieran, of course, being the jinx that he is, had turned around and says, France just don't look like they're going to score a goal at all. And my answer to that was, when you have some of the strikers and the power that France have up front, a goal can come from nothing.
Oh yeah.
And 2 minutes later, the penalty came from nothing.
And it was pace. It was pace that got them there. Not just Mbappe's pace, but the pace from all the forward line. That's the one thing I kind of seen it myself. France were barely laying a glove on Argentina.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then suddenly there was just a couple of glimpses just before the penalty where, especially Coman looked amazing when he came on. He absolutely changed the game.
Yeah.
But suddenly Argentina looked a bit nervy about that pace because it seemed when they had Mbappe, Giroud, Dembele, and Griezmann as a front four, they could handle the two wide guys on their pace. But by the end of the game, France had four attacking, pacey players.
Yeah,
and I think they couldn't cope with that many, and I think that's kind of what overpowered them a little bit in terms of that's where France started getting in behind. And once they started getting in behind, Mbappe really started to turn the screw on it. I did feel, I'm not a massive fan of Mbappe, but I did feel sorry for him. If you're going to score a hat-trick in a World Cup and still come out in the lose, if you're going to score 4 goals, even if you include the penalty, and you're still going to come out in the losing side, it has to be heartbreaking. It has to be absolutely heartbreaking for him.
Yeah, it'll be a test of his character now to see how he comes out of this. That's a massive test.
I have to say, he, kind of reading his body language after the game, he obviously he looked pissed off. He didn't look, emotional or, sorry for himself. He looked pissed off. It kind of looked like, that kind of, this ain't going to happen to me again. That kind of way about him. And I think it could make him an even better player.
Yeah. But if he had decided to turn up a bit earlier in the game, it could have been different as well. France were shocking.
Absolutely diabolical.
For 70 minutes of that match, they were absolute crap. They I couldn't believe how easily, we've seen throughout this tournament, most teams that Argentina have come up against, Argentina will still give up a few chances. Now, in fairness, they they've given up a couple of chances, but they've never got battered in any match at all, in fairness to them. But I expected the finals to be, if Argentina win it, I thought it'd be by a spare goal, and because they're defending like absolute champs. Now they did defend like absolute champs, but that wasn't what won them the game. They offensively, they were fantastic. Their midfield, their little passing kind of triangles to get out of trouble. Like it wasn't like, oh, someone gets in a last ditch challenge and we'll hoof it up the pitch. There was pass. And we threw ball. Like the counter attacking was excellent on the day. So I was, but as good as Argentina were, you could just see France just were not at the races at all. And to be fair, I'm glad that they did make a good of account of themselves. As much as it made a great game for us, I think they can at least be a wee bit proud of the way they finished the game and their involvement in one of the greatest games, as hard as it is to be on the losing side of it.
Yeah. Well, like it'll be interesting now in the next, weeks and months ahead to find out about the this virus that seemed to have been affecting the French team before the game. Like it looked to me that there were few players out there who looked like they could have been affected by it.
I mean,
like Dembele had an absolute shocker. I thought Giroud was a bit unlucky to be taken off in the first half, because I don't think he necessarily played so badly. I think just there was no service to him. There was absolutely zero service to him.
100% agree with you. It's the exact same thing I said at the time, because no one was getting the ball to him. And for me, if you make that substitution needs to be a Drogba, an Henry, someone who, right, you're not getting it to him, so we're going to bring on someone who is just likely to do everything themselves.
Yeah.
And I agree. I thought it would have been better for someone in midfield, who's not given the service. And in fairness, I mean, it was a big call. It was a very big call. I mean, Giroud aside, I think taking Dembele off, because Dembele, like Mbappe, is one of those players that he could do nothing for 90 minutes, and that pace will get you in behind, and it only has to get you in behind once. Griezmann was another big shout, because up until that game, Griezmann was easily one of the best midfielders in the tournament, considering he's not even a midfielder. Although being a striker in a defensively minded setup with Atletico, I think he's set up to be a midfielder. So I think it's a lot easier for him than it would have been for a lot of strikers. But in saying that, he's not a midfielder, so he had an unbelievable tournament. So to make those couple of subs, so that takes some big balls, and it wasn't working. I mean, even after those subs, what was that on the 40th minute? You had 5 minutes after that in normal time, another 7 or 8 minutes of extra time, and then the next 25 minutes into the second half, because I thought
more even 30, like probably half an hour in. You probably had a full half of football between that substitution and when France actually started to play a bit of football. And I think that was more so with the likes of Koeman coming on. That like he came on, I think around the 70th minute. And it was after that, that's when the Argentinians started to panic. I think as well, the Argentinians did a little bit what they did against the Dutch. They were quite comfortable through the whole game and, just kind of started sitting back thinking, look, we just run down the last, 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And it nearly, it did for a time bite them in the arse.
Yeah.
It's the penalty came out of nowhere. It was just a ball over the top that was cleared on. Definite penalty. But after that, it was it was really Argentina clinging on for extra time.
Yeah.
Although they started towards the end of injury time, if they had the time at the end of the 90, they were starting to create their own chances again. They were starting to get a foothold back in the game, which I think was important for them, because if they hadn't showed that, I think the French probably would have went on in extra time to win it. Whereas the Argentinians kind of went into extra time thinking, look, we're after getting a sucker punch, 2 goals in a minute, this shit happens. But by the end of the game, we were still making chances and we were coming back into it, and we were starting to pin France back a little bit. So I think that gave Argentina the confidence then into the second half. And geez, it was that extra time, that half an hour flew by.
It really did, because it was all action.
It was brilliant. It was brilliant. I was watching the highlights earlier on today from RTE, and like it was giving me goosebumps watching it again, like of all the drama and, this chance, that chance, Argentina have a chance, oh, France have a chance. Like it was nearly like a basketball game, that it was nearly end to end stuff. Although I do like the fact that Giroud, because looking at the team list here, Giroud substituted in the 41st minute and then booked in the 95th.
Yeah.
Although do we touch on the slight bit of controversy surrounding Argentina's third goal?
Third goal.
The Messi goal.
I remember thinking it was offside at the time, but then obviously with the replays it was onside. What was the controversy? I was in the pub, so I didn't hear the commentary, so I might have missed it.
The controversy is that 2 of the Argentinian substitutes were on the pitch before Messi scored the goal, and a referee has to disallow any goal scored by a team where they have any extra players, substitutes, or coaching staff on the field of play.
So 2 of the substitutes
two of the Argentina substitutes
who haven't come on yet, or
haven't. They're the guys. No, the guys who are warming up.
Yeah,
at the side of the pitch. They start to run on when who was it? Can't think of his name. Lautaro Martinez had the shot that Lloris saved. They start to run onto the pitch thinking he scored. But when it falls to Messi, they continue to run onto the pitch because obviously it's an open goal and it's Messi, so it's pretty much a goal.
Yeah.
But they've already crossed the line and are on the pitch before the ball crosses the line. And because of that, there's a rule that states that if any extra players have entered the field of play, that goal should be disallowed.
Yeah. No, I from the pub that was not apparent at all at any point.
I only seen this well after.
You didn't even notice it during the match.
Well, I'd noticed the players were none, but I didn't realize that it'd be a rule.
Yeah.
But yeah, I subsequently learned that technically the goal should have been disallowed.
And do you know what? I'm raging because one of my points was going to be, what a referee in performance.
Yeah. That would have been more VAR, because
possibly
obviously he's not going to.
Well, that wouldn't be a VAR thing because VAR would have to specifically have that in the rule. So if it doesn't lead directly to a red card or a goal. Well, I think because it was a goal. Because it was a goal. Yes, they would have been able to look at it, I suppose. Yeah, no, you're probably not wrong. VAR, yeah.
But yeah, no, I have to say the referee was fantastic in how he handled it.
Was it the potential penalty for France when he was like everybody in the pub kind of went, because they all thought it was a penalty.
I said penalty when it happened.
I have to say I thought it was a penalty myself, and straight away the referee is running over with a yellow card.
No hesitation.
Absolute. I mean, he was positive. And to be fair, from when you're watching the replays, obviously it's not a penalty, but from the angle like how far away the referee is, how he is that sure is fair play to him. Like that's you have to be 100% sure if you're yellow carding the guy who's gone
definitely.
down.
Yeah, definitely. especially in extra time of a World Cup final. You need to have some size of cojones to give that. But I thought that that was another occasion where France were really starting to, like, they really had Argentina troubled. Really had them troubled. Like the first half was so easy for Argentina. Like they seemed to be 2-0 up without even going into fourth gear. You know, they were very much kind of just taking the game as it came, and a lovely goal for the second. The build-up play for the second goal was just superb football.
France's defense were at odds and ends. I don't know what they were doing. Going back to what you were saying about them, a few of them not looking well. That's I actually meant to say it at the time, and we ended up chatting about something else. But the Varane and who's centre back? Varane and Upamecano. They didn't look at it. Whereas in a lot of other French games, you had, I think Varane started pretty much all of them, didn't he? And then you had Varane and Upamecano and Varane and Konate.
Konate, yeah.
And anytime I've watched any of the games, I thought that the centre back pairing was incredibly strong.
I think what happened yesterday was that centre-back pairing was left completely exposed by the fullbacks having nightmares. Both Koundé and Theo Hernandez had nightmare games. And I think that left the centre-backs completely exposed.
Yeah, I didn't think Koundé was great. I don't think Theo Hernandez is a brilliant defender in the first place.
He was lucky, to be honest with you. If I was Deschamps and I was making those changes after 40 minutes, I would have taken off Hernandez before I'd take off Giroud, because Hernandez was nowhere to be seen. Every time Argentina went down the right hand side, it was just easy for them. There was no challenge to them at all. I think Koundé, like, he's not a fullback. He's not a right back to start with. But I think also as well is Dembele wasn't helping him on that side.
Yeah.
So he was getting overrun down that side. Whereas Theo Hernandez just, he couldn't tackle. He was always out of position. He was just, he was everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
Yeah. I think it. Listen, that's we all slag England, saying, once you come up against a decent team, you get put out. But in fairness, I think England did expose a bit of the frailty that France had before they got to the final, because France were. I'm not going to say they were lucky, because they did enough on the day, but if England had been a wee bit more on tune on the day, they could have easily gone past France.
Well, very much. Well. And even Morocco had a lot of joy against France, and it was only their finishing really that let them down. Yeah. Like they really caused France an awful lot of problems. Like, France weren't this, and I've been saying it the whole tournament, there was never one team that you went, these guys are definitely going to win. You had teams that you'd fancy to be in and around, but there was nobody that you went, these guys are going to win. There was no team head and shoulders above everybody else. Although I would like to say I did call it from the start, Argentina.
We both did.
We did.
Of our three picks, we both had Argentina. I think you had Argentina with your head. I had Argentina with my heart, if I'm remembering correctly.
Well, to be honest, I'd have Argentina for everything, because Argentina are that. You know the way you hear people talking about, especially when World Cups come along, and you hear footballers talking about, Brazil. Like, I watched Brazil. Like, even going back to like 20 years ago and stuff like that, you'd have guys saying, "Oh, I remember Brazil in 1970 or Brazil in 1982," and it's always, "Oh, those yellow kits and blah blah blah." For me, it's always been Argentina.
Really, yeah.
Those like in the same way that yellow and blue kit of Brazil speaks to a lot of people. That blue and white striped shirts with the black shorts and the white socks, that's what speaks to me. And like, it was always like, obviously I'm slightly too young to remember Maradona, definitely too young to remember Maradona in his prime.
Yeah.
But when in the 90s you had the likes of Batistuta, you know, like I loved Batistuta in the 90s. Like I loved Fiorentina, I loved Batistuta. But even,
you would have had a wee affinity for Italian football. I never really did, and you would have had a lot of the Argentinians playing there. You wouldn't have seen so many of them in the English league.
Like even looking through and down, like you had Ayala, you had Riquelme, you had all these guys that were always brilliant players, but they were never a brilliant team.
Yeah.
And I think this is where it's changed for Argentina, is that, you know, if you look at that Argentina team that started, say the first 11 that started the final, like obviously you have Messi, but you have Di Maria, who, you know, was a quality player, but is now kind of getting on in age. Julian Alvarez looks to be an exciting young prospect. But then the rest, and the same with Enzo Fernandez. But then you look at the rest of them, like Alexis McAllister, like he's a good player. He's a very good player. But like, you're not saying this isn't a Riquelme or someone like that.
True.
The same also, with Rodrigo de Paul.
Also did have an excellent World Cup, Alexis McAllister.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to take anything away from him.
Yeah, but like at Brighton, you look at him sometimes and you're like, yeah, definitely a great wee player, but I don't think anybody really would have thought more than that. Whereas playing for Argentina, and you know he's in the Argentina squad, and you're thinking, fair play to him. If he gets a couple of appearances on as a sub or something, he'll, you know, hopefully he does well, because you know, you like to see someone doing well who doesn't even sound like they're from that country. But yeah, I mean, he was in the final specifically as well.
He was everywhere in that first half. That first half,
every blade of grass. He was brilliant.
I think the only name I heard outside of Messi in that first half was McAllister. McAllister wins the ball. McAllister passes the ball. McAllister does pretty much everything.
Yeah.
He was fantastic, and it's hard to see him still being a Brighton player in 6 months' time.
The lads in the pub were saying, "Oh no, he'll not be back to Brighton. He'll get lost on his way back to Brighton at Stamford Bridge or something."
Yeah, very easily. We're landing in Gatwick. I just couldn't get out of it. But
I was thinking actually, he's the type of player that Liverpool's midfield have had over the last, the last 10 years, 7 or 8 years since Klopp has been there. Someone who is not just an individual superstar, but someone who just, they're in there, they do the work, they know what they're doing. And, that's, he might be one that Klopp might even have a wee look at and say, but there's someone who just sit nicely into our midfield.
He looks like that type of player who would be useful in nearly any midfield. Yeah,
absolutely.
Like you could see him being useful in Liverpool's, City's, Real Madrid, like he could sit in any midfield.
Yeah.
But I suppose we have to talk about the GOAT, about Leo.
Himself.
Like he is like. You can compare and contrast with Messi and Ronaldo all day long. Everybody does. But Messi, to me personally, has brought me so many moments of, fuck, how did he do that? Or that's absolutely sublime, or it's unbelievable. Like he is the best footballer to watch. Like what he does with a football, his close control, how he dribbles with it, like he's magnificent, absolutely magnificent. And everything always seems to be so laid back with him. You know, you never see him busting a gut, like actually pushing it. Yet he still, glides past players. Like you think of the assist for the third goal against Croatia.
Yeah.
Like he never once looked like he was sprinting. He was more kind of just jogging with the ball more so than anything else.
He's always been quick, but I think in the last couple of years, maybe his last season in Barcelona and the couple of years since, I think what you're starting to see is now that the pace is kind of coming out a wee bit. It wasn't all about the pace. That little drop of the shoulder gives him a couple of yards every single time. And he, in any one move, he can do that little drop of the shoulder at different points. So that assist for the third goal against Croatia, for example, I think he did a wee drop the shoulder 3 times in that, from coming from out the sideline to getting to the end touch line. Yeah. Just before he eventually gives it across. I'm nearly sure he's done a wee drop the shoulder
left
at least
to right,
3 times.
Left to right, yeah.
At least 3 times. And that's what's done the defender, and potentially one of the best defenders of the tournament as well. Yeah. And he turned him inside out with a little bit of cunning, because it wasn't pace. It was just very, very clever little micro movements here and there, and just fabulous, absolutely fine. I'm the same as you. I've for me, even from early on, I mean, it's just been. I've never seen anything like obviously as you were saying earlier on with Maradona and going further back with Pele and that, we've never actually seen that. And when we're younger, we're kind of going, oh, Cantona's fucking brilliant and Robbie Fowler's fucking deadly, and the likes of your dad's age and that, to be like, oh, but no Maradona, no Pele. And then obviously we're not, young fellas who don't have a fucking clue. Oh, no, definitely better, definitely class. But Messi is just.
Well, see, the thing is,
a class of his own.
You don't have. I think the difference kind of going forward and how people will look back on Messi and Ronaldo, kind of compared to kind of how our generation would look back on Pele and Maradona. There's very little you could see. There was only ever clips here and there of Maradona, even less with Pele. Going forward, like, just type Messi into fucking YouTube and you'll get fucking millions of videos on shit he's done where you're just mesmerized by what he's doing. So, like, you can look at that. I'd love to see, like, of the clips I've seen of Maradona, he is scarily similar to Messi in a way, in how he played. But I just, you haven't seen enough of it, like, whereas we've seen the last 15, 16 years of Messi doing extraordinary things pretty much on a weekly basis. So, like, you're obviously going to weigh that and say, like, oh, well, this guy's the best because I've seen him do a shitload of unbelievable things. But I would love if there was, I've seen a couple of clips from his Barcelona days and his Napoli days. I would love to be able to see more of Maradona, to kind of see exactly how good he was,
Yeah. There's a great clip. I think it's a couple of years old now at this stage, of what's his name? Gary Lineker. Speaking about Maradona.
He's talking about him juggling the ball.
Yeah. And
it hits it 40 feet in the air and controls us on the sixpence.
Yeah, like he's going out into the middle of the pitch, just kind of not dribbling, a couple of solos, and then all of a sudden he smash it straight up in the air, comes down, and without trying to control it, just smashes straight up back on the air again. And Lineker's saying he must have done it about 15 times. And in all 15 times, he never walks more than 3 paces. And he's just, you can even see by the way Lineker's speaking about it, like he's just, even the thought of it, he's mesmerized. It's brilliant. And he said Lineker was obviously playing for Barcelona at the time. He said he went back with some of the lads from Barcelona and they tried it. He said no one was able to get more than 3 of them. And even with that, they were running to the third one. Like it was just, it just said that the skill that it would have taken just for that alone was unbelievable.
Oh, like it's crazy. Like you just hear, and you hear how he speaks of him. Like in that clip, how Lineker speaks of Maradona. And like, this is a guy who, like at one stage was England's top ever goal scorer, or second top, sorry. He'd scored in how many World Cups, he'd played for Barcelona, he had pretty much nearly done everything. And this guy is talking about Maradona like a child talks about Messi or Ronaldo today, with that awe and that, amazement, astonishment at what he can do. Like for a grown man to do that, it kind of tells you exactly how good he was.
Yeah, and like when people compare Messi and Ronaldo, I think they take it a bit too far, a bit too much. Like it's obviously people's personal preference. It depends what you like. Ronaldo's more of just a battering ram of scoring goals.
Yeah,
and there's nobody like him. Like Messi doesn't do what Ronaldo does. So there's absolutely no disrespect in it whatsoever. But I think with Messi, for me, it's always been just, there's nothing that Messi does that I don't feel is 100% on purpose or 100% where he wanted to go. Whereas, you look at Ronaldo's goal against Porto in the Champions League for United. You look at Ronaldo's the free kick against Portsmouth. There's, for me, those kind of goals spectacular. Don't get me wrong. They're brilliant and they're fantastic to watch. But there is a sense of, I'm just going to hammer this as hard as I can at that rectangle. And if that goalkeeper is not on his toes, it's going in.
Yeah.
And that's brilliant. Whereas Messi, a lot of the time, it just seems to, like, as you said, glides past players. He passes the ball into the net. Even some of his greatest goals from well outside the box, the free kicks, like, you just have no doubt from watching it that he means to put the ball exactly where it goes.
Yeah, I think it's a finesse thing in terms of, when Ronaldo, outside of his, the headers he scores where he's jumped fucking 40 foot off the ground, like
on his ladder that's been green screened out.
Yeah, like that's something where you go, wow, that's totally amazing. But yeah, his screamer of goals are generally just a welly in. Yeah. Whereas like if you think the perfect kind of example for me now, as you mentioned, Ronaldo's free kick against Portsmouth.
Yeah.
Think of Messi's free kick against Liverpool a few years ago. Like Ronaldo against Portsmouth, he smashes that ball with his laces through the ball, and it, goes up and all over the place and into top corner.
Yeah. Messi
caresses and bends the ball into the top corner. Like it's a more finesse. You look at that and you go, how, like, you can understand how Ronaldo does it because he just wellies it and, it's happened. But the Messi one, like the skill and precision of that one is far higher, in my opinion, than the Ronaldo one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's always the way that I kind of grade goals when I'm looking at them as to what is, obviously, you take the occasion into account as well, depending on the goal. But the way that, like, for me, it's years now since I've seen a compilation of, the top 50 goals of the Premier League era. But the last time I remember watching it, you still had Di Canio bicycle kick at number 1.
Yeah.
And you have Bergkamp's flick around the defender at Newcastle as number 2. And I do not understand how they are not the other way around.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
Canio's is brilliant. It is a brilliant goal. It is not better than Bergkamp's at all.
Yeah, no,
for me,
definitely, definitely not. Like even for me personally speaking, Cantona's one against Sunderland where
the wee chip,
like
hits the top corner, and it's even the celebration with that is it. I would have that above the Canio's as well. In fairness,
yeah. Oh, and speaking of that Cantona celebration, Messi's in the penalty shootout after he literally just passed the ball into the net.
Yes, let's get back to the World Cup final.
With such audacity. And then he stood there, arms out, just staring at his adoring nation, looking on to him. It was just wonderful, a sight to behold.
All it was missing was... I can never remember who it was, but you always remember. Was it Brian McClare come up and ruined it for Cantona?
Oh, where he tried to do, he give him a wee hug and that, and it's like, no, fuck off. This has nothing to do with you. You passed it to him about 20 yards ago, and you think you've fucking had an integral part of this goal.
Yeah, in fairness, I think another downfall for France was Lloris in that penalty shootout. He was. There's at least 3 of the Argentinian goals that he should have saved.
Yeah.
They were poor penalties. And listen, no penalty is a poor penalty if it goes in.
Yeah. Especially in a shootout. But if that's United for you or Liverpool for me and you're watching that, you're kind of going, how have we not gone through with the standard of penalties that were being taken against us? Yeah, no, they weren't great. They were just he seemed to me to move early on every penalty. In that, like obviously the Messi one, he nearly dived out of the way. He'd already dived to his left before Messi even connected with the ball. But he'd done that for a couple of the penalties where he went a little too early. Although, if we're going to talk about a goalkeeper in penalty shootouts,
oh my God,
the biggest cunt in the world.
What a bellend.
I cannot stand him. Literally, I think I said this last week, the only people who like him are Aston Villa fans. Like, he is the most obnoxious bellend ever. I absolutely hate him. And then when you see him do that stupid little dance after he didn't even save the fucking penalty, your man put it wide and he does this little fucking shimmy afterwards. It's just, I think from now on, every time he's in a penalty shootout, the first little bit of shithousery from him, straight yellow card. Second bit of shithousery from him, red. And just give it, because like this whole bullshit of like, I don't mind, goalkeepers trying to psych out opposition, in terms of, you're bouncing on the line, you're doing this, you're trying to put them off. But like, grabbing the ball and fucking it away, like this sort of shit that he does just winds me up. And he's such a shithouse fucking prick. He annoys me even thinking about it. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, when he was getting up and dancing and celebrating after saving the penalty. Didn't he save the first one?
He saved the first one, yeah.
After saving the first one, the general
saved the second one. Sorry, Mbappe took the first. He saved the second one.
Oh, he saved the second. With the first one that he saved, the general consensus with the couple of lads I was sitting with was he's an absolute bell end. And what I said to the lads was, that's the difference between him and did you watch any of the penalty shootouts with the Croatian keeper, where save the penalty, whatever it was, just up and straight back over to where he was to wait for the next one.
Yeah.
There you go, done. And then you can celebrate when you win.
Yeah.
Celebrate when you win.
Yeah.
But sure, come here. He like you saw what he did with the Golden Glove after he got given that as well. I mean, goodness me.
He's just a dickhead. He's just a pure and utter dickhead. Well, at least on the plus side, after him winning the World Cup and, the Golden Glove and all that other stuff that he has to get, part of me will be rooting for Liverpool on St. Stephen's Day. Just because I can't have him. I can't have him at all. I'm sorry. Although, are they still in the League Cup? Are they?
Oh God, I have no idea.
Let's have a quick.
I haven't looked at.
Let's have a quick goosey gander. So the first games are on Tuesday. MK Dons, Leicester, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Southampton, Lincoln. Lincoln, by the way, have the weirdest crest in the world. Like
the wee troll.
Yeah, on one leg. He's like got his legs crossed while standing.
He's doing a wee bit of yoga.
Is that what it is? Is that the downward dog?
He's the yoga troll.
Oh, it's fucking weird. Wolves, Gillingham, Wednesday. Blackburn, Forest, Charlton, Brighton, United, Burnley, and then I think it's just City and Liverpool on Thursday, isn't it? Yeah, just City and Liverpool. So no, Villa aren't. So it'll be Liverpool on St. Stephen's Day will be their first return to action. Although
Liverpool City's not till Thursday, isn't it?
Yeah, Thursday.
I didn't look at the dates, but I thought they were supposed to be 2 days after the final. They were meant to be on tomorrow.
Yeah, no, there's 4 games on Tuesday, none of which are on television. Then United Burnley are on television on Wednesday, and then City Liverpool on the Thursday, which it doesn't give them much time considering they're playing on St. Stephen's Day. Like even City aren't playing until the Wednesday. Like City Thursday. Pretty much have a week off after the Liverpool game.
Yes, Thursday, Monday. Strange one. The young player of the tournament there, Enzo Fernandez, he had a great tournament as well.
Very good.
Very, very good wee player. Who does he play for?
Benfica. And he's been very good. He was very... I seen a couple of his games in the group stage for Benfica there in the Champions League, and he looks a tidy little midfielder. He's one of those midfielders who just screens everywhere. You wouldn't say like he's a Makalele or someone like that who just kind of sits in front of the back four. He's kind of everywhere, like he's a bit of a Kante, but better on the ball. Would be how I'd describe him. But yeah, no, he's another one that will be on. He's another one who'll be on the radars of Europe's elite. Although I did hear Newcastle him being linked to.
Not surprising.
Mostly now, to be fair, by Alan Shearer. But did you hear Eddie Howe's response to that? He was asked about. He was asked about Shearer's comments on him joining Newcastle, and obviously he must have said something on the BBC about it and linked him to Newcastle on the BBC. So Eddie had just turned and said, "Oh, I was watching the other channel."
There you go. Puts that one to bed.
Yeah,
so they can sneakily get him in under the radar.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. Oh, well, you don't want to start going into bidding wars with all these players. And then you suddenly end up buying Salif Diao and all these sorts of players.
Salif Diao. What a player.
Yeah.
What a player.
Let's buy the entire Senegal 2002 team.
Or El Hadj, I'm going to spit at everybody. Juf.
Oh, Jesus. We were just talking about dickheads.
Yeah.
There's the king of the dickheads.
Yes. So Mbappe then, so he had... a very good tournament. Top goal scorer. Probably would have got player of the tournament himself if they had won.
If they had won. Well, it was the usual thing. Whoever wins it gets the...
Yeah, if the two of them are contesting it, whoever wins it gets it.
Oh, of course.
His second goal, obviously 2 penalties. The second goal was an absolute peach. Keeper probably could have done a bit better.
You
But I
probably should have done better. But I think
he hammered it though.
Yeah, but I think as well is I don't think really a goalkeeper is fully expecting him to hit that.
As when the ball is dropping out of the air, before he even connected with it, I was thinking, take a touch. Take a touch. You have all the time, because obviously, yes, as soon as you take a touch, everybody's going to be on top of you. But he has a very good touch, and if you can get a good touch and get it out of your feet, you can get a good shot off. But yeah, he did incredibly well to get a shot off from there and score.
Great controlled volley. Like, he didn't swing at it. He nearly just redirected the ball. Like he just arched his foot and just it was superb. I was seriously impressed by him in the final. Like, again, I haven't bought the Mbappe hype, and I still kind of haven't, but I was hugely impressed by him. And sure, he's 23. He only needs a hat-trick in the next World Cup to equal the all-time scorer record.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Like, it's crazy.
Did you see that the stat of since 1982, they've kept up the tradition in this World Cup. Since 1982, there's always been an Inter Milan and a Bayern Munich player playing in the World Cup final.
Yeah.
Every single year.
Jesus.
Every single year. So 82, you had Bergomi and Rummenigge. Then 86, you had Rummenigge on the other side. And, Mateus. 1990, you had Mateus and I'm going to absolutely rape this name, but Augenthaler for Germany. 94, you had Berti and Jorginho. 98, Ronaldo and Lizarazu. 2002, Ronaldo and Can. 2006, Materazzi and Sagnol. 2010, Schneider and Robin. 2014, Palacio and Neuer. 2018, Perisic and Tolisso. And then 2022, Lautaro, and on the other side of it, we actually had three: Upamecano, Pavard, and Koeman, all playing in Germany at the minute.
That's crazy. Yeah,
it's a funky old stat.
Yeah, it's mad how those things kind of work. That just these two, and like, I know they're big clubs, but really random clubs. Like you would think maybe in that statistic it was Real Madrid or something like that.
Real and Barcelona or Liverpool United or
even Juventus if you're going to take an Italian team. Like it just like Inter Milan. They weren't a powerhouse in the 80s and 90s. It was they were kind of a middling kind of team. Like it wasn't until Juventus got done.
It's a strange one. I think the only reason I picked it up is because I remember the exact same stat from not the last World Cup, but the World Cup before that. I just remember hearing about it. Those two teams, they both had someone in the final every year, blah, blah, blah. And then don't remember hearing about it in the last World Cup. And then I just happened to see this and I was like, oh, that's still going.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a fascinating stat. It is. Like, it just I can't get my head around the fact that it's, Inter and Bayern, it's just a bit of a strange one,
Yeah, it's a random one.
Yeah.
I mean, even like people can say what they want about Messi and he's getting on a wee bit now, and Argentina win the World Cup for Messi because he deserves it in his career. But that almost nearly implies that the team was carrying him. So Messi himself broke a couple of records. So he's now the all-time top goal contribution.
So goals and assists
for all World Cups. So he's 21 ahead of Ronaldo. Brazilian Ronaldo and Klose, who both had 19. And then he's also the first player in World Cup history to score in every single round of the World Cup in that particular World Cup. So he scored in the group stages, round of 16, quarterfinal, semi-final, and final. Do you know what I mean? Like, these are things that you can only do if you're special.
Yeah, if a team is carrying you, you're not breaking these sorts of records.
Now, of course, there was a few penalties in there as well. People sometimes will take penalties with a pinch of salt. Look at the shit they've been giving Penaldo for quite a few years.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, you also have to be there to score it.
Yeah, and like especially when you're in World Cups and stuff like that, where you're like, at the serious business end of things, where pressure is really ramped up.
Exactly. Mbappe was the second person in World Cup history to score a hat-trick in the final. Remember who the first one was?
Sir Geoffrey Hurst.
1966 when England won.
Yeah. The only difference between the two is all three of Mbappe's crossed the line.
Officially.
Oh no, officially Jeff Hurst's three goals crossed the line, but they didn't really.
They didn't. And there was a pitch invasion.
That's only for the referee couldn't. Only for the what was it? Hungarian referee couldn't speak Russian because of a Russian linesman. Yeah, they couldn't understand each other, so it was kind of like goal, yeah, goal.
Let's see what else you had.
I apologize for the racism.
Since it was introduced in '82, Messi is the first player to win the Golden Ball in two different World Cups.
He won it in 14, did he?
14 as well, yeah.
Yeah, he was magnificent in 14. He literally, that's one thing I've seen a lot of people kind of still saying, especially when you're talking about the Maradona and Messi. It's like, oh, well, Maradona single-handedly, in 86. It's like, yeah, but Messi single-handedly got a shite Argentina team to a final, and it was only by fucking extra time that they got beat, he's already done that, drag a team. No, he definitely wasn't carried by this one. He fucking more than his fair share of effort in this World Cup.
Absolutely. He's also got the record now for most appearances in World Cup finals matches as well.
Yeah, 26.
26. He overtook Lothar Matthäus.
Lothar Matthäus played for about 70 years, I think. He was old when I started watching football, and he still played another 10 years after that. But yeah, look, I'm glad to see. I'm glad for Messi. I'm glad he's finally won it. And I'm glad he's finally won it while he was still one of the best players in the world. This isn't the Stanley Matthews FA Cup, they win it for him sort of thing. He had a bigger role as anybody in that Argentina team to win in the World Cup. So I'm delighted he got it, because Jesus, he's brought so much joy over the last decade and a half.
Yeah. France have joined the last two reigning champions to get to the World Cup final by failing to win the World Cup finalists 3 in a row.
Brazil in 98 and Argentina in 90. Am I right?
You had Argentina 90, yeah, Brazil 98.
I am superb. Yeah, I had this Liam had this he got his wall chart, and on the wall chart it had the list of previous winners.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, Daddy, it's got all the former, all the other winners and blah, blah, blah." I was like, "Yeah, I bet you I can name them all." And I literally named everyone for him.
Did you?
Yeah.
Fair play to you. I wouldn't be able to do that. I'd be able to, I'm nearly sure I'd be able to list them from
I'm pretty sure
98 onwards. That's when I really started paying attention to the World Cup. I wasn't big into football before that now.
Okay, here we go. We'll round it off with this one. Uruguay in 1930 in Uruguay. Italy in 34 in Italy. Italy in 38 in Germany. Uruguay in 50 in Brazil. Brazil in Uruguay in 50. Germany in 54 in Switzerland. Brazil in 58 in Sweden, Brazil in 62 in Chile, England in 66, Brazil in Mexico in 70, Germany in 74, Argentina in 78, Italy in Spain in 82, Argentina in Mexico in 86, Germany in Italy in 90, Brazil in America in 94, France in 98, Brazil and Korea and Japan in 2002, Italy and Germany in 06, Spain and South Africa in 2010, Germany and Brazil in 2014, and France and Russia in 2018. And if we want to round it off, Argentina in Qatar in 2022.
You only got one wrong.
Did I get Italy in?
Fair play. No, I just thought I'd throw it out for the crack. I have absolutely no way of verifying what Simon was saying there. So if anybody would like to fact check that and get back to us, I would be really happy to know that he did get one wrong if he did.
Yeah, well, I know I'm right. So fuck y'all, motherfuckers. Yeah, my memory is there was another one I was able to do. Oh no, that was I could name every Formula One world champion since like 1985 or something like that.
Oh, no one wants to hear that.
No, wrong podcast.
I also thought just to throw it in before we go, although it didn't work out for them in the end, it's a hell of a flex going into the World Cup final with in the middle of your shirt. By the way, we won the last World Cup.
Yeah, that's kind of like that's a bit of a. I'm gonna fuck it. I have something to prove to you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you won the game. Yeah, well, we won the last one, so it's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those. It's literally a target on you. So, but yeah, that's the World Cup done for another. Well, I was about to say for another 4 years. It's actually another 3.5 years because it's Christmas. Speaking of Christmas, football's back. Premier League's back on St. Stephen's Day or Boxing Day, depending on where you are in the world. We may or may not be here on St. Stephen's Day. Probably on maybe not, because we'll have fuck all to talk about, and we'll probably be hungover.
We'll try and get it in the night after Stephen's Day, because then we'll have a couple of matches to talk.
Hopefully, we'll try and fit some in. But if not, we will be around at some point over the festive / New Year's period. We'll fit in something somewhere. So I suppose I wish everybody a happy Christmas and happy Hanukkah and what was it I did last week? Salam Ramadan and a crazy Kwanzaa. Crazy Kwanzaa. Yeah, so we'll leave you with it. Enjoy your Christmas, everybody. Hopefully Santi brings you everything you want. I still want a Premier League title, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. Anyway, see you later, folks. Bye-bye.